Ingemar Hunnings, and this video is for people from Malaysia who want to qualify as a solicitor of England and Wales through the SQE route. So if you're Malaysian and looking to do that, then this video should hopefully give you the information that you need. Now, I'm the lead consultant at HCL. We're a management consultancy helping businesses in the legal services sector with running their business. That's case management systems, compliance, and a lot of work around the SQE qualification route. So we act as external confirming solicitors for QWE, qualifying work experience. We also assist people who are already qualified as lawyers with the application for exemption from the SQE2 exam. So I'm going to start sharing my screen and you'll see on screen now the 4 elements that you need to complete to qualify as a solicitor of England and Wales. I'll be going through those. Then I'll be talking in some detail about them, and then I'll be looking at the exemptions that might apply. Right, you need to have a degree or degree equivalent. You need to pass the exams, the SQE1 and the SQE2. You need to have 2 years full-time equivalent qualifying work experience confirmed to the SRA by an SRA regulated solicitor or a CULP. And you need to prove your identity and provide details of your criminal records. Presumably there are none, but the SRA needs to check that. Let's look at these in a little bit more detail. So degree or degree equivalent, that is required, but you'll see that it does not have to be a law degree. So it doesn't even have to be a degree. It could be just studies and qualifications to that level. Now, the SRA, I think, uses a company called ENIC to check equivalency. If you're using a training provider that says that you have to do a converter course from another degree to the legal side of things, please note that is not an SRA requirement. That is a requirement from that trainer. Okay, the exams, the SQE1 and the SQE2. The SQE1 tests your legal knowledge. The SQE2 is testing, well, is the SRA really having a look at you as if you were a newly qualified solicitor to see if you would be a safe pair of hands for them to license to practice. The SQE1 exam is made up of 2 parts, the FLK1 and the FLK2, functioning legal knowledge. It's tough. It's a multiple choice exam. Usually there are 4 answers to pick from to each question, more than one of which could be correct. So of the people who sit the SQE1, roughly about 55% pass. It's tough, both in its content, but also the time limit on getting through all the questions. Now, the SQE2 is not testing you, well, it's testing you on the knowledge, but also the application of that knowledge. Okay, and it's made up of 16 real life scenarios, so 16 questions, 12 are written, 4 are oral. Now, the written part of that exam and the SQE1 will be sat in the Pearson View Centres, which they have bases all over the world, and so they can be sat closer to where you are rather than you having to travel to England and Wales. The oral parts of the SQE2 exam, at the time when I'm recording this, which is in April 2026, you still have to travel to the UK to do those. What the situation will be by the time you get to sitting those exams, I don't know. So you'll need to check that at the point when that comes around. Now, of the people who sit the SQE2, about 77% pass, which sounds as though it's easier, but remember that is a filtered group because only those who have passed the SQE1 can sit the SQE2, or obviously if you have been exempted from the SQE1. Now, you cannot apply to sit the SQE2 until you have passed the SQE1 or you've been exempted. Okay, I'll talk about exemptions a little bit later. Now then, the 2 years full-time equivalent qualifying work experience that needs to be confirmed to the SRA. So notice it's full-time equivalent, so that allows flexibility for people working part-time or where part of their time is not QWE. Perhaps they're in a managerial role. What is full-time? The SRA defines full-time as being at least 32 hours a week of QWE. What is QWE, qualifying work experience? Well, the SRA defines that as the provision of legal services. They go on to say that it does not have to be done in a law firm. It does not have to be done in England and Wales. It does not have to be done in English and Welsh law. You could indeed be doing this unpaid, voluntary work, and you can reach back in time as far as you want for your QWE. You can also use an external solicitor to confirm your qualifying work experience. For example, where you don't have an SRA regulated solicitor in your firm. And we provide this service and have done since the summer of 2020. At the time of recording this video, we've confirmed the QWE of over 190 people from all over the world, including people from Malaysia. More than half of those have been working in companies, providing legal services there, and been all sorts of other ways that people have provided those. Now, when I'm on the SRA website confirming someone's QWE, the SRA require me to do more than, say, if you were working in my law firm. They require me to confirm that I have reviewed your work and also that I got feedback from your supervisor. Now, your supervisor doesn't have to be a lawyer at all. They just need to have supervised your work. And it's a very high level, easy conversation that I have with them, usually over Zoom, to get their feedback. The review of the QWE, I would do again remotely through a Zoom call with you sharing your screen to show me the work. So the work never leaves your computer. I don't want it on our systems for obvious data protection reasons. And we're happy to sign a non-disclosure agreement or for you to redact confidential data. So if you want help with that, then please feel free to reach out. I'm just going to bring up onto screen that service. You can see from our website here, there's the URL. Yeah, so if you want help, then please do get in touch, fill in the form on the website, or email me. I'd rather you did not ring me because then I probably won't be able to pick up the call because I'm likely to be in a meeting and I won't have any audit trail. So I'd rather that you emailed me or filled the form in. Okay, now then, you have to prove your identity and the criminal records checks. And by the way, there's no way of getting exempted from that. We do have a small service to assist with that. There we go. No, this one on screen here. So nominal charge on that. We can do the ID verification over a Zoom. I've checked that with the SRA and helped a number of people with that. For example, where they don't have a solicitor who can do this for them. Right, let's go on to talk about the exemptions. So you cannot get an exemption from the degree or degree equivalent. You cannot get an exemption from proving your identity and providing your criminal record checks. The exams, now then, you can apply for an exemption from the SQE1. In reality, the only way you're going to get that is if you happen to have already sat the old LPC exam, the old route to qualifying, and then you can trade that exam pass in against an SQE1 exemption. In reality, it's the only way you're going to get exempted from the SQE2. The SRA are unlikely to grant you exemption from both exams, so if you get an exemption from one of them, you'll have to sit the other. Okay. If you, and only if you are already qualified as a lawyer, it may be open to you to apply for an exemption from the SQE2 exam. Okay, and I'll go through how to do that in more detail in just a moment. if you are qualified as a lawyer, and you have an exemption, sorry, you have passed the LPC, the old LPC exam, you could choose to be apply for exemption from either of these. Now, if you choose to be exempted from the SQE1 and sit the SQE2, you will also have to prove your QW or get your QWE confirmed. If you are already qualified and you choose to sit the SQE1 and apply for exemption from the SQE2, you will automatically be exempted from the QWE requirement. So you might want to listen over this last bit again with regard to the interaction of those exemptions. Right. Let me now look at how you apply for an exemption from the SQE2. I'm going to bring up onto screen here that we have a page explaining all about applications for exemption from the SQE2. There's a guidance note, and there is the ability to download the application form. Of course, you can download it from the SRA website, but this is here for help. We also have a service, £250 plus VAT if you're based in the UK. To help you with this, where we would provide you with a simple template, review your drafts, and remind you as to what you need to submit. Okay, so that is there. And if you do want us to help you, then I would recommend please fill in the form or email us, don't ring. Okay, so applying for an exemption from the SQE2 exam if you are a Malaysian qualified advocate or solicitor. You can make an individual application for an exemption. You don't have a pre-agreed exemption. So in order to apply for the exemption, you need to prove your qualification. The admission certificate is the easiest way to do that. Upload that to your MySRA profile. Now then, you also need to prove that you have at least 15 months legal work experience post-qualification as a Malaysian advocate or solicitor. So please note that the legal work experience is a different definition than the definition for the QWE. They're different things. Right. Now then, how do you prove this? It's by submitting a signed letter of reference from the person who directly supervised your 15 months legal work experience. It could be more, don't worry about that. If this period is made up of more than one period of time, then you would need to have more than one letter of reference from each supervisor. Now, they need to have directly supervised your work, and you'll need to explain what the supervision arrangements were. There are some other technical things that the SRA want to have included in that letter of reference. Hence, we have this service to help you with this. Okay. You would also need to upload proof of your referee's admission certificate. So if they were a lawyer themselves, then their admission certificate. If they're not a lawyer, but they are a professional, then proof of their qualification, plus you would need to explain how they were suitable to supervise your legal work. If they're not a professional at all, and professional, I'm thinking of people like an accountant, a surveyor, something like that. But if they're not a professional at all, you can still have them as your referee. And of course, you can't submit any proof of qualification because they don't have that. But again, you would be required to explain how they were suitable for supervising your legal work. Okay. What I'm going to do finally is to bring up on screen the actual application form for the application for exemption from the SQE2. You'll see that that is here. You fill in section 1, who you are, section 2, your bar or law society that the SRA could contact, so their details there, and the practice rights that your qualification gives you. I think that your qualification will give you all of these practice rights, so you'll be able to say yes to all of those. 3 is ethics, so you'd answer that. 4, what are you asking for? Well, it's not 4A because you don't have an agreed exemption. It's 4B. Put in the details of the organization or organizations where you've got your post-qualification legal work experience, and you tick the SQE2 exemption. Okay, you don't need to fill in sections 5 and 6, which is great. When you get down to section 7, it's 7C that you are completing. And that is because the SRA is taking into account, I think it's 9 months of your legal work experience, which is proved by your qualification because you did it before you qualified as a mandatory part of the qualification process. So you would have a combination of pre and post qualification. The SRA wanting 2 years, but they only want 15 months of it to be post qualification. So you put that information in there. You do not need to fill in section 8 of the application form. Okay, I'm just going to bring up on screen here our YouTube channel. You may be watching this on YouTube, or it may be through some other medium. But we have a lot of videos here to help people who want to qualify as solicitors through the SQE route. Information about the SQE, the QWE, and exemptions. Please do subscribe, like the videos, let other people know about them for whom this may be of help. As I said, if you want to get in touch, then please just fill in the form or email me. So I hope that is of help to you, and maybe I'll be speaking with you. Wish you all the best. Goodbye.